We've reached the penultimate day of the Qatar test. Coming up tonight, Ducati have been painting the top of the timesheets red. Are they the factory to beat? You can't win a race at the start, but you can certainly lose it. Has Maverick Vinales found the formula? And they've kept fairly quiet so far. But are KTM in trouble, or are the Austrian manufacturer simply boxing clever? We'll try and find out.
Then going off to the medical centre and having those checks and finding out that he has got that 2mm fracture in the right metatarsal of his foot. Now, you would imagine that's him done here in Qatar, but the team say otherwise. They do say he's going to give it a go in the morning, see how he feels when he wakes up, and possibly try and ride tomorrow for the final day of testing. So it's not all over yet for Alex Marquez here in Qatar, but after 5 crashes in 4 days, you can imagine what his confidence is like heading into the opening round of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. The worst possible start to the season in many ways for Alex Marquez. And Jack, it must be a difficult and it must be a very frenetic atmosphere down at LCR Honda, because it's not exactly been a smooth test for Takaki Nakagami either.
No, you're absolutely right. It's not been a smooth test for HRC, full stop. Honda has suffered more crashes than anybody else here. 10 in total. The 5 we've mentioned for Alex Marquez. 2 for Taka Nakagami over my right-hand shoulder. Stefan Bradl has suffered another crash today. Remember, he missed a whole chunk of action yesterday after hurting his neck. He went down again at turn 1 today, with Repsol Honda saying, or Stefan relaying to them, that it was an easier crash today, if there's such a thing. And of course, Paul Espargaro has suffered his first crash in the colours of Repsol Honda today as well, bringing that grand total up to 10 for HRC. That sort of difficult to ride RCV is certainly making a name for itself here in Qatar.
Yeah, thank you very much then for that, Jack.
Of Yamahas today so far with the long runs is Fabio Quartararo and especially Maverick Vinales knocking out 54s at will. I would say every bit as impressive as Maverick's run is Paul Espargaro's run. 8 laps in the 54s, mid to high. Super impressive. I got a chat with the team manager, Alberto Puig, just before the show, you know, to give you an idea what he's thinking. He obviously is playing it down a little. He's saying there's a lot of fast guys out there. But what he did say is, we are happy because Paul likes the bike. You know, he's happy with the bike. He goes out there and without being, you know, without taking big risks, the lap time comes. So to me, guys, it's looking very encouraging for Paul Espargaro's Honda debut.
Simon, obviously last weekend there was a lot of wind out there in Qatar and it was quite difficult for riders, I think, to get a fair impression of their machines. But last night and today in particular, the conditions seem to be a lot better. We've seen some ridiculously fast lap times over the last 2 days. What have track conditions been like today, and are they ideal for setting fast times?
I don't think I've seen such ideal track conditions, weather conditions at the circuit ever since I've been here. And guys, just to give you an idea, I did crew chief interviews over the last days to give us an idea of their job at the circuit, you know, how difficult it is. And all of them mentioned it's not just track layout that's difficult, it's conditions, changing conditions, because their job is to back-to-back components or bike setup. And he said all of them said when conditions aren't consistent, you get out there an hour later and it's different, you can't get an answer on what you're testing. You know, it's not the same grip level or temperature or sand or wind change direction. They're talking about gearboxes having to change because of, it's like Moto 3, headwind or tailwind. So what I'm super pleased to see today is a whole afternoon of really stable, good conditions, and feels really good for the teams, and you can see the work happening out there. They're flat out back-to-backing things, chassis and aero and everything, you know, old bikes, new.
Yeah, that's true, Lewis. I mean, it was interesting hearing what Fabio had to say yesterday. It'll be interesting to hear what he has to say again today after that fast lap time. Obviously, across one lap pace, Fabio is in a good position, but he wasn't so sure about the 2021 chassis that Yamaha has brought for its riders here. However, when he spoke to journalists a little later last night, he did seem a bit more upbeat about the handling characteristics of the new frame. Valentino Rossi was also upbeat as well. And if you looked at the
days, we mentioned it yesterday, he went out there and did around 15 practice starts. He did another 10 today at the start of today's running. And as I said at the top of the show, you can't win a race at the start, but you can certainly lose it. And Maverick Vinales certainly is earmarking that as one of his main concerns. The qualifying and indeed the first lap of a race can almost make or break it for Yamaha.
Yeah, we saw this several occasions last year. I think we're going to see it a lot more in 2021. Yamaha have really earmarked the front two rows of the grid as their territory. They have to qualify there, otherwise they're going to be in big trouble. Vinales said this yesterday. I think Franco Morbidelli said something along the same lines as well. Franco was asked, do you have a winning bike? And he said yes. He was asked, do you have a bike in which you can fight on? And he said no, quite clearly. So it's basically like going back to the old days of Jorge Lorenzo with Yamaha. You have to get the whole shot, you have to go out, be able to cut your own lines for this to be the most effective package on the grid.
Yeah, it's to the first test, I improved very much my pace, the time attack, and also the race pace is a lot better. And I feel good with the bike. I ride quite well, but if I compare with the top guys, they are a bit faster. So we need to work. But today was a positive day also because we try something new from Yamaha. We try a new chassis, we try a new carling, and I like the new stuff. So this is very good also for improve the bike during the season, and it's a positive day. I'm quite happy.
Yeah, Valentino Rossi sounding rather upbeat, most upbeat perhaps we've heard him so far over the course of this Qatar test. Those are live shots of the box of his teammate, Franco Morbidelli. So Valentino Rossi feeling pretty happy and looking pretty happy from what we can see on this. Probably the most upbeat of the four.
Yeah, exactly, which makes quite a big change compared to, I think, the first 2 days that Rossi was on the bike. He wasn't so sure whether Yamaha had made a big step, but yesterday there was certainly an improvement. He said he felt like a real rider again, so I think part of that is also the fact that Rossi's getting back up to speed himself, becoming a bit more acclimatized to the MotoGP machine after such a long...
Can you give us an idea what Franco has been working on and how it's been going?
Basically, a lot about settings for Franco's side. Of course, also new parts, new front fork testing, and many settings, electronic, but also basically to get the feeling with the bike back as he had the last season, basically at the end of the year. It works very well for him, so he has a very good pace, I would say.
Same sort of idea on Valentino. What has Valentino been working on? I saw a lot of new parts there. He's got 2 different chassis, but also the front mudguard, etc. What's he been working on, and how has it been going?
The first test, the first day was quite good. The second day he struggled a bit with feeling. The third day, yesterday, actually he said I have much more grip than the second day. So looking to that, he was very happy with everything we tested it yesterday. Saying that, he missed, of course, a little bit of speed, so he said half a second for sure is in it. But yeah, overall, if I would give it a number, we are at a 7.5 at the moment. But it's not race day yet, you know.
And about Yamaha, it looks like they've been working really hard off-season and come here with a lot of parts. Are Yamaha happy? Are you happy with the work they've done?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we have, of course, 2 great seasons behind, and they work hard to get us the best package as we can have. And if you see the speeds, and of course, these boys are following each other, so we have same material as the factory team, so we are not complaining at all.
The regulations this year are pretty simple. There's basically no development. There are some very small things that the MotoGP manufacturers can do. Their existing engine spec, their existing bodywork spec, they can use those, and they're allowed to assign different specifications to their new riders this year. But it has to be one of their old specifications, so they're not developing at all. The one exception is we've gone back to bodywork updates. Every manufacturer is allowed 1 bodywork update during the year, and they can now have this year. They can choose to start with the update, or they can update during the year. The factories are using the current regulations to make their bikes better on the track, and now it's adjustable height in the suspension. That impacts on the aerodynamic bodywork regulations, which were always measured in a static way. Now they have to allow for the fact that the suspension height can be adjusted, so they have to change the rule about how to measure the bike. So all of this is taken care of in the regulation update. The rule stayed the same about yellow flags, but we enforced it more strongly, so that if a rider passes a yellow flag, they must slow down for safety. The way we enforced this was to say that during practice, anytime you go past a yellow flag, that lap time is cancelled. You cannot improve your lap time with a yellow flag. So it's pretty simple. There's no reason not to slow down. In the past was 2 flags together, a white flag with red cross plus a yellow-red stripe flag. These 2 flags together mean the track is getting wet. And it's something we simplified so that the white flag and red cross means raindrops. If the surface starts getting wet, that changes completely to the yellow and red stripe flag. So that yellow-red flag now means the track is slippery for any reason. It can be rain, it can be oil, it can be a piece of debris. It's also much clearer to display on a light panel this single flag. LED lights that are in conjunction with flags in all the corners. Many circuits like this one already have a system, but we want to improve that even more for next year. So during this year, we will have the LED light panels together with the flags at most circuits, and next year at every circuit.
And that was MotoGP race director Mike Webb speaking about some of the rule changes that you may see come into force as this season unfolds. These are live shots of the Ducati Lenovo team garage and now their pit wall. Jack Miller still holds the fastest time of the test so far, although Maverick Vinales, as you can now see, has gone fastest today with a 1:53.2. That is the second fastest time of the week. That's quicker than he went, and indeed than his teammate Fabio Quartararo went yesterday. So it is still, if you look at the headline lap times, advantage Ducati in Qatar at the moment, and it's very, very difficult to judge for a number of reasons, Neil, not least because this is one of the stronger tracks on paper for Ducati, but are we right to assume that they have a slight edge at the moment?
I would say at this track, yes, they certainly do seem to have a bit of an edge because Miller has been up there, Zarco has been up there, Bagnaia as well. I think Ducati and Yamaha both look in really good shape so far at this test. Yeah, I mean, ridiculous times so far we've seen. To put that into context, I think the fastest lap time we had at the Qatar test a year ago was a 53.8, so we're, 7/10 faster than that already.
With harder tyres.
Exactly, with harder tyres too. So yeah, track conditions are really good, as Simon said earlier in the show, but it's...
Pecco, very fast at one lap, and also in the race simulation you had a very strong pace. Tell me how was the day here at Qatar? It's been the best day for us because we worked very well and we decided to buy. We've continued working, so this is very great for us, for the work we've done. And I tried a time attack today and was quite well, but I didn't make the perfect lap. And when I see 53.4, I was happy, but I'm more happy for the race simulation because I started with the used tires of the time attack, so tires where I pushed a lot with. So when I started the race simulation, I was making very good time, very good laps. I was very happy. And then we're seeing where we are losing time with more laps. So we know now where to work with used tires. And today has been a very great day. And you guys at Ducati have been working with a lot of different configurations, also different packages as the Aero one. Have you made a decision facing the race in 2 weeks here at Qatar? At the moment, I think my choice for the race is the bike where I make the race simulation. So we already decided. We have worked a lot in these 4 days, and today I was very confident with everything on the bike. I think that the track was a little bit faster than yesterday. Was a bit slower because I don't know the wind or I don't know, but my pace was stronger than yesterday, so I'm very happy about that. And just to confirm, what was the bike that you used in the race simulation? That one with the new Aero package? Yeah, I put the new Aero package just for the race simulation, and I feel it very good because it's helping me more with the balance of the bike, and this is very great for us. Thank you very much, Pecco.
We saw how good he could be on occasions last season, but not on a consistent basis. So how important for his own confidence and for Ducati is it that he starts well?
Yeah, it's big for Pecco to start the season well, obviously, as it is for pretty much every rider. But I still think that if Pecco starts the season in a good way, he could go on to do some interesting things. I wouldn't quite put him in the mix for championship contenders. I think Miller is clearly going to be the #1 rider in that squad in terms of who's able to get results. But I still think Pecco could be able to spring a surprise. Possibly be a consistent podium threat and maybe even fight for the occasional race win on occasion. And I like the way he's been working in this test. Okay, he went for the time attack at the end of the day, but he's been quite methodical. He's been under the radar a little bit, hasn't been always going for really fast times. And you know, it does seem that Ducati's new aero package that they're using is being greatly appreciated by both of its riders, because Jack Miller was talking it up yesterday at how positive it is, and Pecco was saying he quite liked how it felt whenever he was doing his race simulation earlier today. So yeah, positive news coming out of the Red Garage.
Absolutely, and that translates across to the Pramac team as well with the new aero package. We've seen Johan Zarco running that, and it is pretty clear that it is not slowing them down in a straight line. When we spoke to you yesterday on After the Flag, Johan Zarco had set the fastest, unofficially, it's not an official record because it's not a race weekend, but he'd set as big an advantage at some of the other circuits like perhaps the Saxon Ring or places like that. But just how big a trump card is that going to be for them in the first 2 Grand Prix of this season?
Yeah, I mean, Ducati has a great record at this track. We heard Paolo Ciabatti speaking to Jack Appleyard and Simon Crafar in the Facebook Live session earlier today, and he was saying that yes, they have to kind of keep that in mind, that this is one of Ducati's strong tracks. So let's not get too carried away. But I mean, it's a huge joker card to basically have. You know, Honda, I think 2 years ago, really jumped the gap in terms of the top speed, and Marc Marquez was able to basically stay with Andrea Dovizioso anytime he was in his slipstream on a straight. But here, I think, yeah, as you said, Ducati generally have around 5Ks.
Is out, and we can now take a look at the standings then, with now 1 day to go at the end of this Qatar test. As you can see on the combined times, Jack Miller remains fastest. The 1:53.1 for him that he set yesterday. The fastest time of today was set by Maverick Vinales, a 1:53.2. We'll hope to show you those in just a moment. Here they come. Fabio Quartararo not going faster today, but still 3rd overall, ahead of Franco Morbidelli and Pecco Bagnaia. Aleix Espargaro stays in 6th position, so another strong day for Aprilia, ahead of the 2 Suzuki of Joan Mir and Alex Rins, with Johan Zarco in 9th, although he didn't go quicker today. Paul Espargaro also failing to improve on yesterday, but another positive day for him despite a crash. Valentino Rossi, his best day so far. He was inside the top 10 today, but 11th overall, ahead of Takaki Nakagami and Stefan Bradl, who was back on the Honda today. Jorge Martin, fastest rookie, just ahead of Enea Bastianini, with the KTMs continuing to languish down the timesheet. Oliveira and Binder. Alex Marquez, who, as you have already heard, cut his day short due to a crash that injured his toe. He was in 18th, ahead of Danilo Petrucci and the next of the Yamaha test riders. Luca Marini, 21st, ahead of another Yamaha test bike, with Iker Lecuona in 23rd. Danny Pedrosa, Sylvain Gintoli next up, ahead of Lorenzo Savadori, who also had a crash today. The 3rd of the Yamaha test bikes, again, we can't tell you who rode that because Craig Crutchlow and Kota Nazani have been switching between bikes, but that bike was the 27th fastest overall today, ahead of Michele Pirro for Ducati and Takuya Tsuda for Suzuki. And looking at the fastest sectors overall, it's looking pretty good from a Yamaha point of view. Fastest in each of the first 3 sectors. And that's going to be very, very encouraging for them. But again, if we look through all 4 sectors, Neil, just how close it is between different manufacturers, no more than 9 thousandths of a second in it in any sector of the lap.
Yeah, you can see how well the Yamaha is performing in Sector 2, occupying each of the 3 spaces there, and also in Sector 3.
Absolutely. Fabio Quartararo fastest of all in that 3rd sector, a Yamaha 1, 2, 3 in that sector, with Pecco Bagnaia perhaps unsurprisingly fastest of all in the 4th sector. We'll be bringing you some practice starts very, very shortly as the riders head out in a couple of minutes' time to go out and do some practice starts. So what are our overall sort of assessments as we look back on the times there, Neil, from today? Of course, as I mentioned, the combined times still have Jack Miller in front, but today a Yamaha 1, 2, 3, so once again proving that in terms of their outright pace over 1 lap, there is nothing wrong with that M1.
Yeah, Yamaha in really good shape over 1 flying lap. That certainly has been proved today. And just, yeah, Brad Binder was far from happy yesterday. I mean, he said that yeah, he basically is struggling to get the bike stopped. He's not able to run the lines that he feels are the most effective for that bike and for his riding style. And yeah, I mean, the times aren't very encouraging. Also, if you look at the pace as well, I mean, Brad was really quite far down in terms of the race pace that he was doing yesterday. He wasn't so consistent. He just wasn't really very fast. It was over a second per lap, more or less, slower than the Yamaha guys. And yeah, I mean, it's just one track. We have to remember that We're not really having a normal pre-season, so we haven't got a bigger picture of how the KTM is performing over a different variety of tracks, but certainly here at Qatar, it does seem that they're struggling. And it was interesting last night to hear Miguel Oliveira complaining of KTM's inability to get the most out of the front tyre that Michelin had brought here this weekend.
Yeah, very, very interesting indeed. And Brad Binder particularly looks like he's been struggling to get that bike stopped into corners. We still don't know if we've actually seen the full story, as I mentioned, from KTM so far, but from Miguel Oliveira's point of view, as you say, he doesn't seem awfully happy, and no factory, no matter how much they're holding back, surely they wouldn't look to be 1.4 seconds off the pace at this stage on purpose.
Yeah, certainly not. But I think we have to look at the bigger picture. KTM has lost Paul Espargaro, who was riding at the absolute top of his game over the last year. He's basically been the leader of that project for the previous 4 years, so that's a big, that is obviously going to take a bit of time for those riders to merge new relationships that they have. And on Brad Binder's side of the garage, I mean, his crew chief, Andres Madrid, this is his first year working in MotoGP, and he was asked last weekend what it was like comparing to work on a MotoGP machine after working in Moto2, and he said it was basically the equivalent of swapping a Game Boy for a PlayStation 10. So it's a big, big adjustment for him to make as well. So I think when you factor in all of these things, it's understandable that KTM are a little bit off the pace. I wouldn't be pushing the panic button just yet. But considering they won the last race of 2020, we were certainly expecting a bit more from them.
Yeah, absolutely, and we shouldn't forget as well that they didn't exactly figure too high in testing last season. That's why I think it came as such an amazing shock to many that Brad Binder won the Czech Grand Prix in the manner that he did, because there'd been no real sign until he set such incredible race pace from the back of the field in Jerez, just how much potential that KTM had. But it is interesting, isn't it, when we look at the rookies from last season, who by and large had very, very impressive seasons, Brad Binder and Alex Marquez. Both of them are finding it much more difficult second time around. As you evolve in your career in MotoGP and you go into your second season, much more is expected of you, and both of them are finding life tough going at the moment.
Yeah, they definitely are. I mean, not encouraging the timesheets for either rider. Brad down in 16th and Miguel in 18th. It's a tough time, but I still think that when we get back to Europe, when we get to Portimao, when we get to Jerez, I still think KTM will definitely be up there among the quicker names. It's just that this track in Qatar, they've never particularly had a great race in Qatar. We didn't race here last year, of course. They don't have any race data from this track from a year ago. Yeah, I still think we should cut them a little bit of slack and not go overboard with the panic.
Yeah, here is Brad Binder, who, as I say, finished 16th today.
Not a lot to be off in your first test on a bike as notoriously difficult to get on with as a Honda. And what was also impressive was I think he was around 0.6 a second per lap faster than he was on Sunday. So he's making giant strides day by day on that bike, learning really quickly. And he feels he's already found the limits. Well, he went over the limits today, of course, when he's braking in a straight line, but he's still finding a little bit of issue in corner speed. He feels, compared to Bradl, that he's not quite found the ideal way to ride the bike there, as we see shots of Paul coming back from his crash earlier in the day. But so much to be positive about if you're Paul Espargaro at the moment.
Absolutely. Jack Miller has said that he sees Paul Espargaro as the standout rider so far from this Qatar test. He's been very, very impressive as he learns that Honda, a bike that has proven notoriously difficult for anyone other than Marc Marquez, really, to get results out of in recent years. But Paul Espargaro showing every sign that he can go
one-time attack.
Yeah, absolutely. It's difficult to judge them at the moment. You have to say, when you look at the times generally, the Honda in the hands of Takaki Nakagami and Alex Marquez has looked pretty decent when it has been running. Of course, they've had many problems with crashes over the course of this week, but the general signs seem fairly positive for them in terms of the pace of the bike. Certainly positive signs when we look at Aprilia by and large, even though we had a crash for either rider today. Baudelaire, a question I suppose we can still pose at Aprilia, because that was what dogged them last year, I suppose. The pace certainly seems to have picked up. The last thing they need is more technical problems holding them back.
Yeah, Leish was pretty downbeat when we spoke to him yesterday on this show. I think he missed out around 3 hours of yesterday's running because of a major technical issue, and that was clearly like a big frustration for him, because he was coming into yesterday in such a positive frame of mind after 3 sterling days last weekend, where he was one of the fastest guys, one of the most consistent guys as well. Perhaps it wasn't such a bad thing that his big expectations after last weekend were tempered somewhat, brought a bit back down to earth, because we know that, well, sometimes when Aprilia are trying to bring new things in, it's not always the most reliable of bikes, and we have seen technical issues basically halt Espargaro in racing situations before. But you know, he was still 6th fastest yesterday in spite of all those issues. He was 5th fastest again today. So the speed and the performance certainly isn't lacking. I think, yeah, it's more just a case of whether the bike can hold together, and Espargaro can be considered. You're still trying to try new things with your riding, how you attack certain corners. It must be so frustrating when you have to sit in the garage, but I don't think he has been beset by technical issues today as he was yesterday. So I'm sure Aleix will be a little more upbeat than he was one day ago.
Yeah, 56 laps for Aleix Espargaro today, which is pretty good going as well. When you compare that to the fastest rider of the day, Maverick Vinales, he did 58. So clearly plenty of running for Aprilia. Here's a shot of Jack Miller. And if you know Jack, you know what's coming next. There it is. Parking a bike as only Jack Miller can down at the Ducati pit box. And a high five. So
much too soon from him.
No, we'll follow his progress over the course of the season. We're going to talk about the world champions now, essentially the world teams champions, and that is Suzuki. And Joan Mir getting ready for his title defence. And they've been, I suppose, under the radar so far when we look at Suzuki, as we let's see live shots now of Enea Bastianini pulling in. We'll maybe talk about him a bit later on because he's been very, very impressive again today. And as you can see, his team have been very impressed with him. But as I mentioned, Suzuki going under the radar. And in many ways, we're not supposedly going to see the best of Suzuki, perhaps until we get back to Europe, because this isn't a circuit that favours them, although Joan Mir did explode.
Not so successful as yesterday. Feeling was different, but that's a good thing during the test to have different feelings and try to understand why with everything similar we cannot have the same feeling and enjoy in the same way. But it's clear that it was planned to do a long run to prepare the race weekend. And I didn't want to do too many laps to be ready for this long run. But we have good work to do, and in the end I did the more laps even than the days before. So I'm kind of tired, and I would say happy that still strong work and many good information for the future.
How did you feel during the longer runs, the race simulation that you've done today? Do you feel like you have a competitive pace?
Need to compare with the others, but I think I'm not so far. I can find still some better feeling to be few tenths faster, and then it will be very interesting. So let's see. I think I did much better than what I could do in the past last year. So that's why it's a progress way, and I'm still pushing.
Is that as a result of you or the bike? Or a mixture of both? The fact that you feel you've got a better pace now?
Sorry?
The fact that you have a better pace, do you think that's you or the new bike that you've jumped on, or maybe a mix of both?
It's coming together. When I deserve to have a better bike, it means that I'm going fast enough. And I understood how to ride this Ducati bike. So I think, as I say, compared last year, both things are together to control better this race pace.
Thank you, Johan.
Thank you to Sean Zarco. Thank you to Jack Appleyard. Speaking to the Frenchman down there in Parc Fermé. These are live shots once again from the Lausanne International Circuit of the fastest rider of the day.
1/10 faster or 1.5 tenths faster over a flying lap. Then that could be worth one full row on the grid, maybe even more, because the margins are so fine in MotoGP at the moment. But it does appear that Suzuki, it hasn't got the pace of Yamaha over one flying lap.
No, it doesn't look like that, although their race pace once again was pretty good over the course of the day. Looking at Joan Mir's long run pace, or the longer runs that he did over the course of the day, he was pretty consistently in the 154. So, also optimistic.
Yeah, overall happy because today we really make some improvements. We play a little bit with the geometry of the bike for the first day in this test, and I found a solution that allowed me to be fast with used tires. And give me more stability, so I'm very happy. Unfortunately, I made a very small crash, but enough to broke a little bit the bike and not able to repair in time for the race simulation. Anyway, I think we have to be very happy and proud. Today everybody has been very fast. The track wasn't like yesterday, but we managed to go in 53.5, which is a very, very fast lap time. I think it's almost a second faster than last year. So we have to be happy. We have a very good speed also with used tires, so hopefully tomorrow the weather allowed us to keep trying, and I will try race simulation again. So yeah, overall satisfied about the test so far. We always been fighting for top 5 every single day. So yeah, I'm very happy.
You say you have a good pace with used tyres. Just how good is it?
Yeah, I mean, I can stay for many laps in 54 low, 54 half. Today I start at 3 in the afternoon with very, very high temperatures, and I managed also to ride with a hard rear tire in 54, which is very, very fast, and it means that we will be also competitive in hot conditions in another circuits during the season, because Portimao and Jerez will be very, very hot, I think. So yes, overall I'm satisfied. I think in a race simulation we can stay in a lot of laps in 54 half. So I hope tomorrow I can prove it.
Obviously on race day the conditions here in Qatar will be very different. After the Moto 2 race always affects the grip levels.
Yeah,
are you still confident that despite those change of circumstances Aprilia can still be competitive?
So you never know after Moto 2 what can happen, but obviously what we were looking today to improve was the stability of the bike with the used tire, and sincerely I managed to ride in 53 and also in 54 low quite more easy than the other days. So in improving the stability and the rear grip, it means that when the track someday here after Moto 2 or maybe in other tracks will be more slippery, we are able to maintain a good level. So this is why I'm very satisfied about today.
Yes, was not the funniest one because we had many things to test. Was not so funny because, you know, we had really good pace at one moment where I felt really good on the bike, but we needed to change settings, fork setting, rear shock setting, so was not so great today. But also at the end of time attack I just went with the medium rear. Old one, the feeling was not good, then we swapped directly to the soft, so I was impressed with the potential of the soft, and my lap was not that great, but you know, 53 is already a big lap. So yeah, step by step we are testing many things, and we know which one is great and which one is more difficult to use.
Do you know a direction on the chassis yet? You obviously tested it again today. Do you feel comfortable with it?
Yeah, I feel, we can say I feel comfortable because honestly the pace that we had is great, time attack is great, so that direction is really good. So let's see if we can make another step on the last day, and I feel ready. Tomorrow is time to make a race simulation. So let's see, but I feel that we can do well.
As you say, just one day left now. Do you feel ready to go racing?
Yeah. Honestly, right now we are doing tests and looking at the pace, but I think it's not really necessary to look at everybody's pace because now the track is, you know, after 5 days of MotoGP, the tarmac is full black of rubber. So even if our pace will be amazing, for the race will be totally different with Dunlop rubber, Moto 3, Moto 2. So I think it's just an idea and go home happy. But as soon as we will be back, will be a totally different story.
And how do you prepare for that? The fact that the track conditions will be totally different. Is there any way of making sure that you're ready for that situation?
Yeah, I feel that we are ready for this situation, but you never know. Maybe the track will get exactly same, much worse, maybe better. I don't think so. But you need to think about this situation of, you know, with the Moto 2 and Moto 3, the tires will react in a different way. So yeah, let's see what we can do.
Thank you, Fabio.
Thank you.
Yeah, we never put a tyre in at all. Like the only software used was for the race sim. Got that out of the way. Wasn't too bad. You know, it's always the same race simulation. It's nothing like being in the race. But no, I got through the jobs we needed to get through today. It was we had quite a big day. You know, the boys had to do a few changes on the bike, so we spent a bit of time in the garage, just a couple of little things that needed to be changed in order for the race, sort of thing. But apart from that, no, really positive day. You know, I did the lap time on the same tyre as yesterday. At the end there, I just had to go out and check a few temperatures on the bike, and when I went out, I seen Frankie, so I sort of tagged on the back of him on the 15-lap-old tyre and fed it to it. Felt good on it, and was able to do my best lap of the day. So, no, pretty happy.
And talk us through the race simulation. As you say, it doesn't really simulate a race, but what was it? How did it feel like? How did the bike behave as you'd hoped it would do?
Yeah, the bike was pretty good. You know, as I said, the race simulation, you can never, you're just out there sort of circulating on your own, just trying to stick to a lap time kind of thing. It wasn't too bad. I sort of, like always happens when you're doing a race simulation, you're not really thinking about tyre consumption or anything like that. You're just trying to do the best you can. And yeah, the last sort of 4 laps, it kind of fell off the edge of a cliff there. But I think there's some things we can do a little bit in setup just to try and gain a little bit better, let's say, longevity out of the tyres. But as I said, in all, a positive day for us. Glad I got that out of the way, and we're going to have a more chill day tomorrow.
Has it given you a better idea of where you feel you are heading into the opening round? Yeah, I think so. But as I've said before, again, my race sim was, lap times were under lap record that was set up quite a while ago. It's never going to be the same on race day, after the Dunlop rubber's been laid down and everything like that. So you're just sort of getting a feel for how the bike's sort of taking lap by lap and that kind of thing, full fuel load and everything. But in terms of times, you can't really look at them too much, especially when there's that much Michelin rubber on the ground and whatnot. So I'm, like I said, just happy that I could complete them. Felt good on the bike. Felt, didn't really get tired at all. So that's a positive, and I'm keen for the race now. Yeah, just one day to go, not long to wait now, Jack. Cheers, mate. Exactly. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Well, I think still we have a lot of work to do. So we know we can be very fast at one lap and on the rhythm, but we know our weak points, so we are working very hard on that. Still remains one day, so I will be very concentrated to improve my race start and also the first laps of the tire, which is really important with the fuel time. Tomorrow I should do a long run, especially like race long run. Today I did few long runs, but not really a race long run, and we will see. But anyway, at the end, what we need is trying to start super fast and try to be P1 on the first lap and pushing like hell. Our bike is working well on that area, so it's our main point.
We've seen you again today doing practice start after practice start after practice start. Do you feel you've made progress with it?
Yeah, we are making a lot of progress, and this keeps us really happy and also really motivated because we know we have the speed, we know we have a good rhythm for sure to fight for the race, but now we need to start well. So little by little we are improving, and we need to make a step.
How do you improve that? Is it with your technique or something setup-wise with the bike?
At the moment we are working a lot on the setup because we are not yet on where we want to be, and then we want to work with the technique. So we have 3-4 days still remaining to practice starts, and then we will be ready.
Just finally, it looked like a busy day for you as well. 3 different bikes in the garage, I saw. What did you manage to take out of that?
Yeah, it was 2020, 2021, and then something different. Anyway, you have to try everything, and today I think we try a lot of things. For sure, I could not concentrate a lot to be fast on the track, but at the end I made 2-3 laps that I really was on the point, and the bike was working well, and we could ride quite fast, and this is always very positive. But what remains me really happy is that I just ride the new bike, and I felt quite good on it.
Well, P1 today, that's not bad. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow, Mav.
Sunday race.
See you then.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel pretty ready. There's always room to improve, and there are always things to do and things that need to get better. But I feel quite ready.
What do you feel there's still to work on tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow we're gonna have to try some tires. We're gonna have to see how I go in a long run. So usual things. But overall, I'm really happy. I'm working with my team, and I'm trying to bond even more, and I'm trying to understand even more the secrets of the bike, trying to react according to the conditions. So we've been trying different settings today during the day and the night to see how they behave in some conditions. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. I say pretty happy because it's testing, but actually I'm very happy because the lap time was great, and the feeling is good.